What up, Box State? It's cracking with the riders out there, man. So I finally figured out how to upload content from the laptop. For a minute there, I couldn't even find the camera. I had to search for it, and I found the program. So this is the first video of regular content. I had to switch it up from quality wise, bro. My phone was just not doing it. Kind of had me down, but we are here. And y'all let me know what the quality looks like, if it's a better picture, or if that's just overhyped. So let's get to it, man. You know where you at. You at Seven Oaks Hotels 2.0. Like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. Let's get to it. Before I start this, I am not promoting gang life, gang culture. Just telling a testimony, give a life experience, and shining some light on the Denver Metro. So with that being said, let's get to this video. Um, I was watching a podcast and I seen videos like this over the time of doing YouTube, and podcast was basically talking about like youngsters, right? Fools that new faces to prison, new numbers, and they were talking about an individual that didn't belong to any gang. He just went into the system, and something happened, and there was a predator that took advantage of that dude. And I guess he was, over time he was, doing him kind of dirty, while that fool had a breaking point and he snaps and he ended up shanking the dude that was doing it. He turned into a straight predator himself, and it just turned him into a beast because prison does that. And there's been quite a few situations, and even in Colorado DOC, we know the infamous fool that used to do that to his workout partners. He'd get them all big, and this fool was a big dude, and he would, you know, run into fools that were kind of mess ups and get them all big. And when they started pumping out their chest, he would just knock them out, and so on and so on. Because some of them fools started doing the same thing. Well, I started thinking about a time, bro. 2006, right? I'm progressing through the system, and I end up in Crowley, and I'm there for just a little minute, but we had a good program up there. Couple solid certified keyways. Lokes was over there deep, and they were programming. And one day they came up, and there's like, one of your peoples um hit the facility. Pretty much, I don't know if the homie from the streets had said, "Hey, one of the homies," or wrote him a letter if they were talking or not. So I told that fool to meet me at the yard. He ended up going, and I get to the yard and I see him, and I approach him. And at this time, this little dude, you know, a little skinny dude, real nervous, bro. He was nervous to be in the penitentiary, and I was like, "You good, my homie?" Like, he knew my people. He was talking highly of the people. So, I'm trying to figure out if he's good or whatever. And he's like, "Yeah, bro, like, I'm cool." He's trying to keep strong, but he's like, "My people on the streets have beef with some fools that are here, and I'm just." He's new. He's like, "I'm nervous because they might try to get me." He made it out all the way to basically asking me if I could see if the homies would allow him to, kind of mingle with the car, work out with us. Like, he was asking, for us to back him up because he was so nervous. Well, we're not even like the people that I immediately always function with on a daily, we're not even pretty much on the same sides of the facility. No, I'm good. Um, so basically, he's on the other side of the facility, but he starts messing with some fools because he from Ballo originally, and there's some Ballo fools that kind of knew, who he was. So I was like thinking to myself, this fool's eventually gonna get put on, because he started walking with these fools, and in there, it happens more than you think. Like, fools will go and they won't even be affiliated, and all of a sudden now, 6 months into their stay, they're gang banging. So in my mind, I'm like, you know, that's gonna happen. I already predicted it. So I slide through, boom. I end up progressing, and years down the road, I go to the halfway house, and I get in trouble in the halfway house, and they send me back to Ben County Correctional Facility. I pull up to Benton County Correctional Facility, and at this time, there's a certain neighborhood of Crips that they were putting on multiple people from the streets to the penitentiary. I'm talking about like their numbers had increased. They were like the new era of the Crips, and they were getting deep. It seemed like everybody wanted to be part of this hood, and especially on the yard because they had a little bit of power. Um, it was so crazy, bro. Because one time I'm talking to one of their members, and he was respected member from them, and they hit me up, and they're like, and that fool he was ironing his clothes because they were getting ready for a visit, and he's like, you should be from the hood, and he caught me off a guard, and he was serious. He's like, I was like, what? I said, "Hey, my homie, check this out." I was like, I've been banging forever, bro. I got little homies. Um, I'm a G for mine, I wouldn't even know how to be a little homie. Like, I'm not gonna be nobody's little homie. And he said I could respect it, but it was kind of one of them things, bro. Like, I think he felt some type of way. But the fact of the matter is, bro, they were putting on a gang of fools, like, you know. So I'm going to Chow Hall one day. It was either going to Chow Hall or GD, and I see the homie that I told you that was not affiliated at first, and he's over there and he's full fledged. Like, he hadn't been put on a neighborhood, but he was full fledged cripping. And it was kind of interesting because it was like, bro, you wasn't banging when you pulled up, and now you over here. But like I said, people get around, they get comfortable, and they start dibbling and dabbling in gang politics, and it happens all the time, bro. So I get the word, and I'm chopping it up with him because I know him a little bit, and he's like, yeah, he's like, I'm probably gonna get put on this neighborhood, and I said, oh, damn fool, like you ain't even from the east side like that. So it was coming. I kind of looked at it different because he went this whole time not getting put on no neighborhood, but because they have the numbers and a little bit of the power, he's now prospecting for these fools, and he's their basically their little homies. He's going on dummy missions, and him going on dummy missions started getting his self esteem up. He got a little bit of size because it was mandatory for homies to work out, but he got a little bit of size, and he's a kind of a pretty boy fool, bro. So he a real cocky dude too. He got his little cockiness now. He got his little size. He's talking to one of the COs up there, and um, I remember a situation had occurred on the west side. I go to the east side, and I end up in his unit, and it was weird, bro, because around certain individuals, he would act different than when he would talk to me. You know what I'm saying? And I think he was trying to impress these fools. But every day, this fool would be on the dip bar. In the middle of the unit, Ben County had these dip bars and pull up bars, and he would find himself taking off his shirt because he has size. And the COs basically, because fools, they had it where they picked off the CO, and he was one of them dudes. So I'm cool with some G's. And I talk to these fools because they know my uncles, and I drink coffee with these fools. We're drinking coffee. And one of the G's that I got respect for to this day, he said, yeah, bro, yo, homie. I said, who? He said, "Uti Woo." He said, hey, this fool owes me for a bag of coffee, and he hasn't paid me in 2 weeks. And he's like, I think this fool's trying to get over on that coffee. I was like, damn, bro, because that type of thing will domino effect a whole situation between two cars, and there was never been no beef like that. So I said, let me talk to this fool. So I hit the homie up because I know that fool, and I know the homie that pretty much he owes the coffee to. So I'm trying to mediate, and I'm like, hey, bro, I was like, that the homie from the G, he's real respectable, bro. He's like, he said that you owe him some coffee, and he's like, yeah, I'll get him that coffee next week. I ain't got the money for it, but in my mind, I'm like, I've seen this fool have canteen. I think this fool's basically trying to say he's not paying this dude. So I told Tonic, I told homie, and I was like, hey, bro, this fool said he don't have the money. And he kind of just was like, so the next week passes, he don't have the bag of coffee, right? We're in the day hall, and every day, like I said, this fool, basically does dips. And I remember the G fool, he comes out on the tier and he said, he like looked at that fool and that fool like caught eye. He said, "Hey, you owe me for a bag of coffee, homie." And in the penitentiary, you don't say the B word. You don't call nobody unless you want them problems. And the G was turned up all the way. He was pissed. Like it wasn't even he was trying to act hard. He was mad because he actually gave this fool off of, man of your word, and this fool trying to play him. So this fool, I don't know if he just thought because he had size, because that fool was kind of right. He gets all loud. The G fool goes in the thing and he puts all his stuff under the bed. I already knew this fool was not gonna play with because that fool was respectful and I know he had a lot of stripe. And this little fool was a youngster, but he was bigger and he thought he was just gonna go manhandle. So he runs up the stairs, bro, and I'm not even playing. He goes down the tier and it's the third shout. And as soon as he goes in, the G fool didn't even say anything. He just got off on him, boom, 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 and he drops him into the tier. And that fool slides down the little metal thing, bro, and he's sleeping, sleeping. They have to wake him up. That G fool goes back in and shuts the door like nothing happened. They didn't even see anything, and it was he felt like it was the most embarrassing thing ever. 3 days later, he's like, "I'm just doing my time." I said, "Man." I didn't even feel bad for that fool either because of the simple fact is he started trying to bully after he wasn't really not about that life, bro. And a real life certified, it didn't even matter where that fool was from. He was a real life certified rider for his, and he put that fool on his back. And honestly, I don't even think the other fools respected that little fool because they knew that he wasn't a part. I think they were just using him for what they could. And that's why they didn't really act to make it a group issue. They just let it go. And that fool literally had to go and lick his wounds and he just stopped banging all the way around. Crazy, bro. But you know what it is. Mile high salute. Let's go.